my personal favorite types of watches to wear is a GMT that has 200 meters of water resistance. I really love dive watches, and a diving GMT just makes sense to me. There are a lot of brands that do them, but one of the brands that do it the best is Seiko. And the Seiko that we're looking at today is a limited edition with a beautiful blue, green, aqua dial. This Seiko is one of those Seikos that gets all of the Seiko details right. This is Seiko running on all cylinders. So let's take a hands-on look at one of Seiko's latest releases, a diving GMT with an absolutely stunning dial. I do want to mention right off the bat that this watch is brought to you by Exquisite Timepieces. If you are interested in this watch, definitely check out their website and tell them that Watchchris sent you. Ever since I sold my SBDC 061, I haven't had a Seiko diver in my collection, and this just reminds me why I want to have a Seiko diver in my collection at all times. This is the SPB 475. It is a limited edition for the US only. It is a GMT, and it gets a beautiful dial on it. When you look at the dials on these watches, they just do such a good job. This is sort of a sun ray pattern on the dial, but it's almost like a chameleon. It changes to a dark blue and aqua blue. Sometimes it looks like a gradient dial. Sometimes it looks like a sunburst dial. It's a very beautiful, different dial that you would normally see on a dive watch. And you have a beautiful bezel on here that is made out of ceramic, and there is a slightly raised sapphire crystal. Everything here looks just so good together. It's put together really well. Of course, the case is inspired by their 1968 divers. That's why you have the crown over at the 4 o'clock position. Obviously, that adds a little bit of comfort as well, because this is around a 41.7 millimeter watch. So this is technically a 42 millimeter watch at the case, and it doesn't really wear like that, and visually it doesn't look like a 42 millimeter dive watch. It's also on the thinner side for a diver with 200 meters of water resistance. Comes in at under 13 millimeters, around 12.8 millimeters. And then you have a 47.8 millimeter lug to lug. A very solid 3-link bracelet, and then you have a very classic Seiko clasp. So this is a tri-folding clasp. It is partially pressed, partially milled. So that scissor is milled. You have a double push button, and that is the milled portion there. Everything else is basically pressed. You also have a little diver's extension that is also pressed. You don't get to see the movement. This gets a solid case back, a screwed-in case back, and a screwed-in crown with that 200 meters of water resistance. The case sort of telescopes. That's how you get that really good fitment with Seiko watches. Anytime you see a case like that, usually they wear a little bit more comfortably to the wrist, and that's what Seiko do with a lot of their models. This one gets that ceramic bezel. It does feel really nice when you use it. It doesn't sound very loud, but that is very typical of Seiko. So it feels really nice. It just doesn't make a lot of noise. Everything does line up so that index at the 12 o'clock index, and then the chapter ring, and then of course the triangle and the bezel, everything lines up very nicely. So no alignments issue with this Seiko. And then you have applied indices. Those are very liberally applied with Lumibrite. The hands also very liberally applied with Lume, including the seconds hand and the GMT hand, which is in a slightly different tone from the rest of the hand. So you could make the difference between the two, and that one is in an arrow shape. So obviously you can see that that is the GMT. This is powered by the 6R54, so that means you are getting 72 hours of power reserve. So this gets a 3-day movement. It says it right on the dial. It also says GMT in red, and it gives you the water resistance there of 200 meters. Of course, you have Seiko right below that 12 o'clock index. Right below Seiko, there is the Prospex X. A lot of people love that. A lot of people hate that, but It is on the dial. I just do want to mention that. And then, of course, you have an unsigned crown. Sometimes these are signed, sometimes they're not. When you turn it on its side, you have a really thin line of brushing. There are drilled lugs and then very thick lines of polish. Looks really good. And then you have polishing throughout the bracelet. Everything here is finished beautifully. On my wrist today is my Urwerk 103. This one is in white gold, a very heavy watch that I think looks fantastic. I love this watch so much. I do wear it pretty often, although it is pretty wild to wear to places like work and things like that, but I just love it. And there it is on my 7.5 inch wrist. I had the 44 millimeter version of this watch for a very long time, and I felt that that wore like a 42 millimeter. I would say this wears like a 41 millimeter in my opinion. It is not thick. As you can see, 12.8 millimeters thick is what I measured, and this is around a 41 and change millimeter watch, so it comes out to around 42 millimeters. But like I was saying, it wears like a 41 millimeter. And then the lug to lug is around 47 and change, almost 48 millimeters, but I think it looks fantastic on my 7.5 inch wrist. And it's all about the dial on this watch and the bezel, the combination between the two. I think it looks fantastic. The proportions are great. It's just a really good looking Seiko diving GMT. Well, there you go. Lume definitely does not disappoint on this watch, and you do get a little bit of lume on the second hand. All of the hands are lumed and all of the indices are liberally applied with lume, and you have a little pip in the bezel, which of course is lumed. Price on this watch is $1,600. It's a limited edition of 500, which is actually very low for Seiko, so that's pretty good that this is only limited to 500 pieces. And in general, I think it's a really good looking watch. This gets the 6R54, so that means that this watch is a caller GMT or a military GMT. It is not a traveler's GMT. All that means is that when you go to set the GMT, you are setting that GMT hand and not the local hour hand. That is a difference between the 6R64, its predecessor, and obviously a lot of people do like that functionality or the previous functionality, but a lot of people like this functionality as well. And you do get a lot more power reserve with this movement, and I think that is very appealing for a lot of people. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments section below. Again, this watch was lent into the channel by ExquisiteTimepieces.com. If you are interested in this watch, definitely check out their website. I will put a link to their website down in the description below. If you buy this watch or any watch from them, tell them that Watchchris sent you. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. I will put a link to their website down in the description and tell them that Watchchris sent you. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Thanks for logging on, and I will catch you guys in the next video.